Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for another vlog. Today we're doing an office tour. Alright, so let's start the tour here. Right behind me, flip around. This is pretty basic. That is a whiteboard where I write down all of my to-do lists and ideas. To the right of it, bulletin board, also pretty straightforward, right? These are some older cameras and stuff I just like to display because I think they're cool. And if we look down, this is my charging station right here. At least I call it that. It's really just a power bar, but I like to call it the charging station. And then obviously the charging station is on this table that I use to set up gear and stuff like that. Sometimes I shoot on it too. When you see the slider video that I'm putting together, it will be shot right here. Moving to the right of the table is this old 2007 Mac Pro. And I use this basically just as a machine for some rendering and stuff like that. Honestly, right now, a lot of its use is as kind of a Netflix machine. So I've got the monitor for it wall mounted right here. And then below it, I just have this keyboard and trackpad combination that sits on my printer. By the way, I hate this printer. Hate it, absolutely hate it. Moving to the right of the printer, I have all of these hooks where I just hang up some of my more commonly used things. So like a little SDI cable for my monitor. Below it, some XLR cables. This is a white balance card, some tape, a reflector right here, the shoulder strap for my photography camera, and some clamps. Okay, so moving on to the shelves. This is a bin of RCA cables that is entirely unorganized. This is a bin of HDMI, VGI, and DVI cables that is also entirely unorganized, and the HDMI cables aren't even in there anymore. Above it, that's just some cleaning supplies, my soldering kit, an extra keyboard, fog machine, which I really haven't used for an actual project yet, and a old Instax 100 Fujifilm camera that I found at a thrift store and thought it was kind of neat. A bunch of hard drives, bunch of business cards. This is a DIY motorized slider that I've been working on, and maybe I'll make a video about it sometime. Follow focus, matte box beside it. This is like a universal ND kit that almost kind of works like a matte box where you just slide the ND in. It's a basic T3. My GoPro underneath it, bunch of batteries, LP6 for the 6D and V mounts for the Ursa, some SD cards, the 6D itself, and then this is where I keep all of my nice pretty lenses. So just to go over what you're seeing here, there's the Canon 50mm f1.8, the Canon 40mm f2.8, Sigma 24mm f1.8, a Bauer 8mm fisheye lens f3.5, Canon 35mm f2, an older Minolta MD. Oops. Luckily, this is an older vintage lens, which is fairly robust. Come on, autofocus. This is a older Minolta MD lens. It's adapted over to a Canon EF mount, and it is a 24mm f2.8. Helios 44-2, also an older vintage lens adapted over to EF. The Canon 24-105. This is what I shoot a lot of my projects on. Fairly basic lens, f4. A lot of people use it because it's a really great lens. Telephoto lens, 75-300, f4 to f5.6. This big guy is kind of interesting. It's a older Canon B4 broadcast lens that I have adapted over to EF as well. It's, let me look here, 9.5 to 143 millimeter, and it's a f1.8. So moving down again, we have audio land. This is my Asden shotgun microphone with a Rode windscreen on it. A couple of handheld mics, my wind filter. This is my Samsung Gear 360 VR camera. I just don't really have a good place for it yet. That's just a wired lav microphone, mic stand, Zoom external recorder. This is my new Edelkrone slider. I'm going to be doing a little review on that. So below the audio shelf, this is all just kind of random stuff that I might need. So I've got it all organized into little bins here. And then whenever I'm looking for an adapter or a USB cable or hardware, chargers, tools, you name it, that's all right there. Moving down the shelf, we have my Lowell light kit, a DJI Osmo, and a DJI Spark, as well as my external monitor, and then an empty case. On the side of the shelf, I have my camera backpack. It's an Eve case. I don't remember the model of it, but it works fairly well and I like it. Moving to the right, we have all of my tripods and light stands, and obviously this is getting super crowded, so I need to figure out a solution for that. But as you can see, like I said, tripods, light stands, there's a slider back in there, right there, motion slider, and then also a jib right here. This whole thing here is really unorganized. Mostly it's GoPro mounts and 15mm rod rigs, like for shoulder mounting and stuff like that. And then there's also just a bunch of kind of misc stuff. Need to figure out a better organization system for all of this stuff in here. All right, the big shelf. Starting from the top, that's an empty bin. I'm gonna put stuff in it sometime. This is an AC box, so that's full of extension cords and power bars. That's a little travel tripod. Very nice to have. It just fits right on the side of my backpack nicely. XLR bin full of XLR cables, and HDMI/SDI bin full of HDMI/SDI cables. These are a bunch of knockoff Airy lights that I bought recently. They work pretty well, but you can kind of tell that they're cheap, and I've had to do some repairs like you see here to them. But you know what? They put out light and they work. Big knife, because everyone needs a big knife. That is fluid for the fog machine. I don't know what else needs to be said about that. This is just a bag that I put extra stuff in when things won't fit in my other cases. This is my Blackmagic Ursa Mini in its Pelican case. To the left is a bunch of DIY dimmers that I built. And further left is my grip kit, which is basically zip ties, rope, straps, all that kind of stuff that you might need to rig gear on a shoot. And then there's some few tools and stuff like that that you might need in there as well. So here we have a couple umbrellas for my low lights, and below that is a couple of those cheaper soft boxes that you can get on Amazon. I don't use them much, so I keep them packed up here. VCR for when I do VHS to DVD conversions, and then that's just mostly random storage, a lot of cases that I don't use and stuff like that. And the very bottom shelf, sandbags, tarps, moving blankets, a couple backdrops, which are actually just bed sheets. And at the very bottom, these are weights for my jib, and I keep them on that dumbbell so that it's easier to move them around when I'm using them for shoots. So, looking up here, this is where I try to keep myself organized. So I have these whiteboards with the current month and next month where I write down all of the stuff that I have coming up, and then I've just got some sunglasses and other random stuff there. Below that we have my editing setup, which is just this Samsung monitor, and then my Lenovo laptop on a stand here so that I get a nice little dual monitor setup. For mouse and keyboard, I just have this really basic setup from Logitech that I got at Walmart for like 20 bucks, and it does the trick. I'm not really into doing macros like a lot of other editors are. One final thing that really polishes off the office is this banner from my business. Alright, so I hope the tour was interesting. Thanks for watching. If you've got some ideas as to how I can better organize this office, please let me know in the comments. Like the video too. The reason I wanted to make this video was because in a year's time, I think this office is going to look entirely different, and hopefully it won't be in my parents' house. So be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with what I'm doing. See you guys later.